Hello everybody. So today I'm going to give you a demo on Salesforce Tableau CRM. So basically a bit about myself. So I have been working in this IT industry for 3+ years, including ongoing 1 year in the Salesforce Tableau CRM. And training is something which has been I have been delving on that for the past 3 months on the Salesforce Tableau CRM. So here I will just give you a very brief overview of what is the Salesforce Tableau CRM all about. So we will get to see the contents. So this will be the course outline. Basically, this is something you are going to get in this whole course. Starting with the introduction, the setup access, and everything, and much more on the Einstein Analytics part. And yeah, these are some of the add-ons which I'm going to touch. So just for today's session, I will just walk you through what is Einstein Analytics all about. So you all must be wondering what is this all about and why one should learn it. So let me just quickly present to you. So basically, in Einstein Analytics, this is your Salesforce org. This is the Salesforce where you will be having your Salesforce Tableau CRM. So formerly it was known as Salesforce Einstein Analytics. There's a separate org for that. There's a separate org of Salesforce which you need to have to get this Salesforce Tableau CRM. So over here, this is this 9 dots which you see in Salesforce. This is something you call it as App Launcher. So once you go over there, you have this thing called Analytics Studio. So over here, once you press it, you are going to get redirected to a separate tab. So here you are going to get everything. This is where we are going to learn most of the things. And here you have something called as the apps. So basically apps are nothing but it acts like a folders. So in Tableau CRM you have so many apps which acts like a folder, and by default you get the my private app and shared app over there. So just to access this Analytics Studio, you need to ensure you have certain permissions. So if I go to my user details over here, so as you can see, if I go to my user details on the settings, if I click on my user details, so you need to ensure that you need to have certain permission set license. Like if I scroll over, you can see I have this Tableau CRM plus. So you need to have that Tableau CRM plus license. And if you go to permission set, you are going to see that need to have this Tableau CRM plus. So this set license assignment needs to be the Tableau CRM plus, as well as this permission set assignment, that is Tableau CRM plus. And once you have that, you will be able to access this Analytics Studio over here. Okay, so once we do that, we kind of get redirected over here, and this is where you are going to get all the stuffs related to Tableau CRM. In Tableau CRM, we have a wide variety of things to display. For example, we have the dashboards. So there's a lot of dashboard, and I will walk you through a few of the dashboards. So all these are the dashboard which I have stored over here. And then we have the stories. It's nothing but the prediction model which is being touched upon by Salesforce Tableau CRM. And then we have something called as lens, which is more like of a Salesforce report which we can have. And then we have certain data sets as well, where so basically in Einstein Analytics you make certain transformation, and once that transformation is done, we can register that as an output. So it's a very powerful BI and ML tool which is being used in Salesforce, and there's a lot of features to explore over here. So basically, from here, there's something in this setup. If you go over, there's something called as the data manager. So basically, here it follows in Salesforce Tableau CRM, you follow the ETL approach, which is nothing but extract, transform, and load. So this is something where we deal with a lot of data. So many organizations can have a lot of data, and there could be certain transformation which needs to be required, and that particular transformation is something which we get over here in the data manager. So in the data manager, you can go to data manager in two ways. Either you can click on this setup and go, or you can directly click from here the data manager. It will redirect you to the same screen of data manager as well. So coming back to the data manager, so it's the same screen. So here we have something called as the connect. So connect is nothing but as you must be knowing, that Salesforce is a completely separate tab which we have. It's a completely separate tab which we have Salesforce. And from Salesforce, basically, as I told you, you need to have certain permission set license. Like this product needs to be purchased. It's not that you are going to get it every time. And there's a separate URL to get registered for a free org of Salesforce Tableau CRM. And once that is done, so here, if you see this SFDC local, this is nothing but your local Salesforce org. So in whichever Salesforce org you have your Salesforce Tableau CRM, that is the Analytics Studio, from there only you're going to get all the objects being pulled in. So here, if you can see, there are certain objects which have been pulled in, like opportunity account and all these things. So this is coming from a local Salesforce org. And now, as you can see here, I have something called a sample demo of Canada sales as well as external Salesforce. All these are nothing but your external Salesforce org, which means this is something where I don't have my analytics Einstein Analytics, or I may have as well, but this is something which I'm pulling all the objects and records from an external Salesforce org. Okay, so we can have that connection established over here. So if you click on this connect to data, you can get it established. So I have, this was already there, so by default you are going to get this SFDC local, but other than that all these three have been connected by me. So if you click on this add connection, you can go for the Salesforce external connector, and whichever external Salesforce org is there, you'll just need to provide the requested credentials and you can get that connected. Now once that is connected, you can always, so for example, if I go over here, you can always pull in certain datas, like from here, if I just, this is my external Salesforce, and if I click over here, if there are certain additional objects which I want to pull in, I can just select it. So it's taking a bit of time to load, but yeah, you can actually select. So whichever objects is needed for you, okay, let's say case share, case status, or contact, the standard objects called contact, you can just enable this and click on continue, and then it will also ask you for required fields which you want to pull in. So once this is done, you can pull in certain fields as well. So whatever fields you want to pull in, you can just pull in and click on continue, and then all those things will get pulled in by default. So currently, as you can see, I have three Salesforce of external Salesforce which were connected, and I pulled in from sample demo these three objects, standard objects, and from external Salesforce these two standard objects. Now once that is done, basically there's a lot of transformation which we do. So we need to run the sync. So you always have this option of running the sync. So basically in Salesforce Tableau CRM, you don't get data real time. So compared to the standard Salesforce reports and dashboard which we have, where you get the data real time, here you don't get the data real time. So here whatever changes you're making, let's say if I'm dating any opportunities, or let's say I'm creating some new opportunities records as well, so then you always have to ensure that you kind of run the connect. So here you have something called as run now. So once I click over here, this kind of runs, the sync runs. So for example, if I click run, then basically if I go to my monitor, so monitor is the screen where your status is always going to get display. As you can see, because I ran all the connect which is coming from my SFDC local, which is from my local Salesforce org, on the monitor screen I can see that everything got queued over here. So from here it started running. So basically the opportunity, group, account, everything is in sync right now, which means if any particular recent changes has been made, all those records are going to get pulled in. So you need to click on refresh just to ensure this kind of runs successful. For example, right now my group and account has run successfully, and other things are running right now. So that is one thing which we have to do. Similarly, for external Salesforce also, I can run the schedule. So I can always run that to ensure that all the recent record gets pulled in. Now once I kind of stored it as a connection over here, so in the connect I get all the, it's being stored as a data set, like all the records and all get pulled in. And then for the transformation part, so basically if I want to play around with the records and all, I can always do it on my data flows and recipes. So data flows is somewhere where we can make a lot of changes. For example, like this is my, so basically whenever you logged into your Salesforce, you get something called as default Salesforce data flow by default. That data flow is anyhow going to be there by default, and there are so many nodes over here which we can make use of and do many of the transformation. For example, you have the data set builder over here. So basically if you're completely new to it, and let's say you want to build certain objects and all, then you can directly go for the dataset builder. You have something called as the SFDC digest. So this node helps you to pull in data from your local Salesforce logs. For example, if I click over here, it's basically directly me asking me the node name. So whatever name I can give, and it's asking me the source object. So because it's directly asking me the source object, so from here you're only pulling in the objects from your local Salesforce org. So SFDC digest is used for that purpose. And then we have something called as a digest. Now here, if you see, you have additional name called the connection name. So basically, of course, you can also pull in records from your local org, like whatever opportunities and recent records are stored in your data set in the connect, you can directly pull in from there. You can make use of it up. And if you want to get pulled in from other external sources, then you have to select the others. So digest is something which helps you to pull in records or any objects from other Salesforce or other external sources. So here just wanted to mention as well that whenever it comes to connect, don't necessarily have to connect only to your Salesforce org. Like here, of course, it's just straight to the Salesforce because I've been mainly working on this particular technology, but you can connect to any other sources as well. For example, if I go over here, add connection, you can have Redshift connector. You can connect with Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Okay, you can connect with Heroku. You can connect with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So all the connection is relatively simple over here. You can connect with Microsoft Azure SQL. Okay, then all the things SAP HANA. So all these things are provided. Zendex, Google Analytics. So whenever you click on any of the things, if you just provide the requisite credentials, so connection name, developer name, description will all be depending upon how you want to give it. It will be completely on your end how you want to get the names and all. But yeah, there will be something, some other credentials. For example, in my case, when I was connecting to external Salesforce app, I always had to give the username and password of that particular app. So similarly, depending upon what kind of sources you want to connect, there will always be some credential. For example, here you have something called as client limit and private key, which needs to be provided from the Google Analytics team. Okay, so once that is done, we can save and test, and the connection gets established. So there's a lot of external sources you can connect to. And you can also connect to certain MuleSoft connections over here. So like you have the MuleSoft MySQL, so a lot of stuffs can be connected. Even you can have the live connection where so currently, as I told you, like whenever I'm connecting any external Salesforce, I have to ensure that I run the sync to get the recent records and all, because it doesn't gives you the live records. But yeah, you also have the option of connecting live connection with some other systems, like you have the Snowflake over here or Salesforce CDP direct connector. So once that is done, on the data flow side, we make those changes. So digest node helps me to pull in all the records which are coming from external sources. And then you have something called the edge. So let's say, if you want to upload any data, so when it comes to uploading data, there is one way we can do over here through connect, where we are connecting through any external Salesforce or external systems, and we are pulling in their objects and requisite fields and requisite records. That is one way. There's another way we can also upload as a CSV. So if I go to my Analytics Studio once again, if you click on this create tab, there's something called as the dataset over here. So you can also upload any CSV files. So if you have certain CSV file and if you want to upload those records, you can do that as well by clicking over here CSV. So once that is done, here, as I was talking about, you have this thing called as HMart. So the first three node is nothing but helps you to pull the data. So when you go for SFTC digest, it helps you to pull in your data from your internal Salesforce. By internal, I mean to say the org where your Einstein Analytics Studio is present, where you have your Tableau CRM installed. And by digest, you can pull in records from any other external sources which is there established in your connect tab. So if it's only established, then you will only get the connection name. If it's not established in the connect tab, you won't get that over here. Okay. And through EdgeMart, you can pull in certain other data sets which are already registered. Let's say there is certain CSV file which you have pulled in, and those things you want to get it, then you can directly get, or you can get, like, for example, here I have something called as opportunities which is already registered for me. So if there is some other registered nodes which I want to get, I can directly get it over here as well. So if I type opportunities, it will show up. Okay, so if there are certain data sets which are already registered already, you can pull in those sets as well through this particular option called HMart. Then you have something called the append. So the append node is nothing which helps you to combine all the rows all together. So this is somewhere it helps you. Then you have the augment node, where depending upon certain keys. So let's say there are certain keys, if there are two particular external sources which you want to combine, so depending upon the common key, certain records get pulled in, and that is where the augments come to picture. And if you want to make certain transformation, if there are certain other transformation which you make, if you want to make use of certain computed fields. So let's say you're pulling in certain records from Salesforce, but there are certain fields and all which you want to implement, which is known as computed fields. You can always make use of this expression called compute expression. And the compute relative is nothing but it delivers you the same rule as your compute expression, but in compute expression you can only perform calculation in one particular row, but it gives you the option through compute relative you can do it across the rows. And then there are certain other options as well, like dimension to measure, which helps you to convert in dimension to measures and all. So you have the flatten node. Let's say if you want to bring certain hierarchical data, let's say there are certain parent data which you want to pull in, then this plays a huge role over there. And then you have certain called predictions. So certain predictions have been done, and if you want to put in those models, you can always make use of this. And then you have something called as the filter node. So if there are certain unnecessary records which you want to keep, or let's say you want to get rid of, then this is where this particular node helps you. And then slice dataset is also like there are certain fields, like certain calculation and all you have made, but at a later stage you want those fields to get rid of. So this is where this whole picture comes into picture. So basically filter helps you to remove records actually. So depending upon the filter condition which is given by you, it helps you to remove the records. But slice datasets helps you to remove the fields. So if there are certain computer fields, or let's say some certain fields which are coming from other sources, to remove those directly you can make use of this. Okay. And similarly you have the other nodes like update, and the registered is very important. So whatever transformation you make, so ultimately if you want those as an output, you have to register that. Okay. So basically let's say if I take this example, so here when it's SFDC digest, it means I'm pulling the local account, and here you can get in the fields and all which you need. So After doing that, I'm pulling in the opportunity, and what I'm doing is I'm just augmenting it. So augment, as I told you, basically you have certain keys, like from here, from the opportunity I'm taking the account ID, and from the account I'm taking the ID part. So depending upon this common scenario, I can pull in certain extra fields which are needed from the right source, and from left everybody gets pulled in. So left source will be your unique source where all the records and all the fields and records will remain intact, and depending on upon that, I'm also augmenting with the user. So this is something I did from the first part, so the dataset builder. So let's say you're completely new, and if you want to build something, so let's say new data flow, if I want to give the name as dataset name as new data flow, and if I click on continue, so here it helps you to pull in certain Salesforce object from your local Salesforce object itself. So let's say I don't have much idea, but I know that I want to make certain transformation on the opportunity. So you can just select over here. Now if you click on this plus, you will get to select the fields. So you can just select some random fields, and then on the relationship, basically let's say if you want to pull in its account, so once you select that, you can again select the fields over here, and depending on that, you can just click on next. So once you click on next, you can see this particular thing has been already built. So I gave the data flow name as new data flow, and that's why it's coming up over here. So it automatically gets built for you, and if you just update and run this, you're going to see a data set. So basically whatever gets registered ultimately, those records, so basically I'm pulling in certain fields over here, and if I just update and run this, ultimately it's going to register me as a data set. So whatever name you give in the alias or in the name section, so those are nothing but your data set name. So again, if you go to your, so just to check if it's running or not, you can always refer to monitor. The monitor, you can always check whether it's running. So as you can see, when I ran this thing, it's showing me successful, and it gives you the option of failing as well if certain records got failed or not. So here, since it's running, we can always cross check. So by the time it runs successfully, so whichever name you have registered, you will be able to see as a data set over here. So as you can see, it ran successfully. So now if I again click over here, this is the dataset name. So this is something, all the results which I want to see, I can see it on my Analytics Studio. So if I just search for the name over here, so this is the dataset. So whatever fields I pulled in, I can always refer it over here. For example, I have selected the account name. I can just view the account name. So dataset is something where you will be able to see the results of whatever transformation you did on your data flow. So here there's a lot of option. Either you can view as a chart, and you can view it as a different kind of chart, like you can either view it as a bar chart, like here I have the account names which are coming in, and you can perform some mathematical calculations as well. So for currently it's now showing count of rows, but if you want, you can go for maximum of amount. So based on the maximum of amount criteria, you're going to get all the records. Like for example, this account is going to have this much amount over there, and you can always go for other operations as well. Let's say if you want to go for the maximum of amount, that also you can do. So for each particular account, you're going to see what's the maximum amount. And here we get the features of changing the chart as well. So if I want to go for some other charts, I can always go for that. So for example, here I have the bar, column, the pyramid chart. So here you need certain other criteria as well. So let's say if I just pull in the average of amount, and let's say here I pull in, or let's here you can get it as a pyramid. Okay, so in this way you can go for many other charts like lines, combo, parallel. So different kind of charts are used for different scenarios. So these are all something which we can always walk through, and also if needed, we can have the we can also view it as a compare table. So let's say if I delete all those things, and if I straight away go to my values table, I can view all the things as a value. So whatever fields I pull in, if I just want to see it as a straight away value, so I can always do that. So here I had the close date pulled in, and if I want to, so the Instantix itself, converts it for you in terms of days and seconds and other stuffs. Like if I go over here, it converts you for month, quarter. So it self classifies for you for any date. It self classifies further into quarter, month, minute, and everything. And also I can go for the compare table. So in the compare table, I can always view it as a table and add certain stuffs. So it just gives you in terms of table format all the time. And then if you go over here, this is where the whole pictures come into picture. So basically whatever kind of things we are doing in the backend, it always gets stored in as an SQL. So SQL means Salesforce Analytics Query Language. So here, this is how the Analytics operates at the backend for you. This is where you get the whole information about this SQL. So this is what is about the data set. And once you save those data set, it gets saved as a lens, which is nothing but your saved report kind of a thing, which you can refer at a later stage. So this is where you can do it. So once you click on this save, you can give the appropriate name of your lens, and you can give the app, either it can be private app or any other app which you have created. So this is the whole thing about it. And ultimately you can create many dashboards as well. So for example, here I have a dashboard called account with opportunity. So this is a something, this is one of the many dashboard which you can have. So let's say if I hover to 6 months, it gives me the 6 months results. Okay, and depending upon the stage and all, it has created this chart, this donut chart over here. This is nothing but a donut chart. And then at last you have the opportunity table. So depending upon different scenarios, I can view the results. And let's say if I clicked on certain stages, so as you can see, this is something called as faceting. So let's say I clicked on certain stage, let's say closed one. If I want to see result for closed one stage, then I can, my all other widgets are going to get faceted accordingly. And then at the top you have certain filters over here. Let's say you want to see for certain accounts only, then if you click on apply, it will show you for those accounts. So we don't have much results for this account, and here at the end you can see what is the result for that. Let's say I want to view it, or let's say if I just want to see certain stages, let's say I want to see those kind of opportunities which are closed lost. So if I click on apply, as you can see, the chart completely gets faceted to that particular thing. So I don't have any records over here, that's why it's not showing me anything. But let's say if I go for closed one right now, so I have the records, and that's why it's popping up. So these are all my records where I'm having the stage as closed one. So this is how you get faceted. So similarly you have other things as well. So this is one of the scenarios where if I want to see opportunity, I click over here opportunity, and if I, let's say, want to see account, then I can see account over here. So once I hover over here, I can see account. If I hover over here, I can see opportunity. So in this way, there are many dashboards which I built. This is another classic dashboard which is done with the help of a trailhead over here. So here, let's say if I go for my opportunity stage one, I can see certain records. And if I want to see those opportunities which are lost, then I can see it over here. And let's say if I select certain sales rep, then as you can see, some numbers are changing. This is how the faceting is working, and you can see this particular table at the bottom. So in this way, we can build many other dashboard as well. This is also one of the dashboard which have been created through the trailheads. So here also, let's say I want to see the donation. This is where I can see the donation. And let's say I want to see the leaderboard report. So I can see once I hover over here, as you can see, automatically it's getting expanded. And let's see if I want to see the pipeline. So I can see the pipeline over here as well. So in this way, you can create many other dashboards depending upon how the requirement comes up. So here, for example, we see the opportunity table right at the bottom. But as we hover over to certain aspects like donations, we can see further details over here. If we click on leadership, then other things get minimized, and that particular thing where we selected get maximized. So these are some of the ways where we can build the dashboard. This is the whole thing which we are going to learn about. So basically in Salesforce Tableau CRM, as I was walking you through, first we will learn about the settings and all, like what kind of permissions and securities and everything is needed. Okay, and for those access only, you can redirect to your Salesforce Tableau CRM, that is the Analytics Studio. So there are two ways to watch the Analytics Studio as well. So through the app launcher, definitely you can go to your Analytics Studio. Another thing is that if you just click on Analytics over here, so there is a tab which will get populated. So in that tab also you can see your features like your app, your dashboards and everything you can see over here. But yeah, just to go to your data manager, that is something you can do only in your Analytics Studio. Okay, so this is the whole thing which we are going to learn about the Salesforce WCM, and then going under that, what is kind of app, the dashboards, how we can create those dashboards. So these are some of the sample dashboards which I showed you, but how to create those things is something we are going to walk through as well. And then the lenses, and then basically the transformation, like how we kind of get connected to different data sources, as well as how we can make the transformation in our particular data flow. So there's a lot of data flow which we can build. For example, there's a compute expression node. We can always, these are some of the derived fields, whatever kind of compute expression you map it, those are always your derived fields. So we can always have certain derived fields. So by derived field, I mean to say this is something which is only present in your Salesforce Tableau CRM, and it is not present in your sources, data sources from where you're pulling in certain fields. So after doing this, we register, and basically whatever output we see as a data set. So here, like compute expression example, we will see it as a data set, and based upon those data set, we can always populate on the dashboard. So to create the dashboard, like you can always click on create and click a dashboard, and you can have a blank dashboard created all the time. So in the blank dashboard, you whatever, these are the different sections which you see. So they basically, this something which you see on the complete left side is nothing but your widget. This is the whole landing page of your dashboard. Okay, so we can always change the dashboard, we can always preview the dashboard, and if needed, we can make certain changes by clicking on edit. So here, if you hover over here, you can always change, like in the horizontal currently you see 8.
And if I want to change, I can always change that as well. The spacing, so basically the spacing is something which you can reduce. Okay. And if needed, you can increase the columns as well. So as you can see, as I'm increasing further, the columns are increasing. So here you have the name, the default name, whichever you want to give. You can always change the background color. So these are all the features which we have. And you can always pull in certain widgets, like for example, this is the chart which is there. Okay. And then you have the opportunity table. So as we were seeing the opportunity table as an example, so let's say if I click on accounts and if I want to pull in certain fields, so I can always go to my values table, and whatever fields is there, if I just click on done, it basically pulls you those table. So this is one example which we walk through. And over here also we can make a lot of changes. Then the filters which you see, you can always bring the filter at the top, and depending upon the filtration we can view it will get facilitated to all the charts and well. So here also a lot of widgets are there, like for example the chart, the table, the filter, and the container. So container is something where we can place all the widgets in an appropriate manner. Then you have something called as the date, something called as the link. So basically, if you remember in one of the dashboard where we were able to see the opportunity, and then we were able to see the account view. For example, over here, once I click over here, I can see the account. Here I can see the opportunity. So those things are something which you can do through this particular thing link. And then you can always upload some images. So here, for example, we had certain images like at the top. Those things we can always upload as an image over here. And some numbers, if you want to show up, then we can make use of this. Then the range. So in this way, there are a lot of widgets we can walk through. And once we kind of do that, there's a lot of other properties available. Let's say if I want to make the theme a little bit different, I can always select this. So a lot of properties are there which are available, which we can walk through. So this is the whole thing about this Salesforce Tableau CRM. So here we mainly deal with the dashboard. What are the so is basically the ETL approach, like how we connect different sources, how we connect an external Salesforce org, how data gets pulled in from your local Salesforce org itself, and then how we do the transformation on the either the data flow. These are some of the data flows which I was just showing you. And there's something called as the recipe as well. So whenever it comes to transformation, we make use of these two nodes. So in recipe also is more or less like a data flow itself, but there are some added advantage which we can do, and we can ultimately transform it. And then whatever results we want to see, we can always see it over here. If you go to Analytics Studio, you can always see the results in the dataset section, or you can see it if you want to populate it ultimately in the dashboard. So basically dashboard is nothing but a collection of all the dataset which we are going to have. So for example, when I was creating this dashboard, and when I pulled in a chart, so this chart will be nothing but ultimately it will be a dataset. So from dataset only we will be pulling in certain fields. So those are the something which we can build in. And yeah, this is more or less about what you're all going to learn. And at last we are also going to have something to learn on the discovery side as well, the prediction which is being done by the Einstein Analytics. For example, let's say if I click on certain stories and all, so you can see, like these all things are being done by Einstein. So we give certain data sets, and how you can maximize certain things. So this is something I didn't build. This has whole completely been done by Einstein itself. So depending upon certain variables, like how you can decide like what are the factors which is increasing your CLV, and also based on this data set there are certain field called CLV, and based upon that, how things are working and all, this whole thing is being predicted by Einstein itself. This is also something we can walk through in this Salesforce Tableau CRM. So yeah, this is all about more or less what you are going to learn about this Salesforce Tableau CRM. And yeah, this is what I wanted to just show you in this demo session.